Long we had waited, perfecting our new-grown civilization. We had confined our society to our homeworld, planet Eden. But the time was ripe for the next leap in our development. We had to go back to the stars. We were sure there had to be other intelligent species out there in the vast regions of space, and we had to find them. Talking only to ourselves had become alarmingly monotonous, and we felt the urge to interact with entities outside our circle. So we built our fleets and prepared for the long walk between the millions of suns. Now that we had perfected our technology of space travel, the question was not how to get somewhere, but only where to go first. The possibilities were almost endless, so the decision was made to go back to the place our ancestors had come from. We would go there jumping from one auspicious system to the next. If we would not find what we were looking for, we at least could pay a visit to our forefathers. Maybe they had come to their senses and made their worlds a better place. Maybe not. We spread out on our journey, visiting thousands of stars and their satellites. At first, the cosmos appeared to be an endless, freezing desert to cross. But we kept going nonetheless until we found the first signs of life. Step by step, we perfected our search patterns, learning how to identify fertile soil among all the barren emptiness. In some places we deemed to be suitable to flourish, we left behind colonies. On our voyage, we passed through many star systems, most of them hostile to life and some very few favorable for the development of intelligent life. But nowhere did we meet the cognitive counterparts, the brothers in mind we were looking for. Once we found a species very similar to our forefathers, but they were in a very early stage of development, so we did not interfere. They had to find their own way into the future. Finally, we reached the shores from where our ancestors had ventured into the unknown void. They were still burning in the hell of hatred. The progeny of our forefathers were still fighting over something we were not able to comprehend anymore. They were at each other's throats for words like land, belief, or honor. The longer they were struggling to violently achieve their questionable goals, the less was left to fight about. They had devastated one habitable planet and 2 moons that once were rather habitable too. Now only two worlds were left interlocked in constant military conflict. Fanaticism was the only lesson taught over generations. When our first diplomatic mission reached out its hand to both sides, it was ambushed. Since our technology had advanced at a much faster pace, the attacks did not mean a real threat to our negotiators. Nonetheless, we were concerned. What would happen to any creatures far less developed than us if they were confronted with this level of aggression? We could not leave this place as it was. Transformation was the only answer, but our ethics would not allow us to force anyone into change. It had to be everyone's free choice to be transformed. Very few accepted our offer and left their worlds following us to the stars. For the rest, we buried their worlds in a deep gravity well. There they could remain fighting until the end of time. We continued pursuing our original agenda. It was obvious we had to set our stakes much higher than we had expected. We had to traverse the distances between galaxies, not star systems. And our efforts were rewarded. We encountered and befriended countless species who had left behind their animalistic roots, and now were only dedicated to peaceful development. But there was still so much gruesome violence remaining. Of course, competition and even war were part of the development of any species. But if there was no turning around, no evolving to another level at some point, we and our new friends had to interfere. There was no insight and other intelligent, sentient species actually got hurt. We proceeded as we had done with our forefathers. We simply separated those civilizations from the cosmic community.
Your mission is to curate the universe. Our goal is to bring peace and freedom to the farthest reaches of space. But beware. Our final frontier is not space, but entropy. Only if we become masters of time itself, we won't be washed away by the ocean of transience.